Welcome to Guided. I'm your host, Jodi Reynosa. Let me get this little icon out of the way so you guys can see us. This is my husband, Johan Fritz, Will, and we have some things to talk about today. So, congratulations, you made it through the new moon. It's a powerful one. So, it is one in Scorpio. It started yesterday. And yesterday was an 11. So numerologically, that's really powerful. It's a portal. It is a bridge and a pairing to new things. And this particular new moon in Scorpio is a new start. It's, as you know, Scorpio is a water sign. So it's like the death and resurrection. It's like the phoenix rising from the ashes. So much transformation, especially with the emotions. So a lot as far as setting new goals, a new perspective, a new paradigm, especially when it comes to the emotions, relationships, just a new life, basically. I mean, it's a new start, so it's really exciting. But we have a little agenda. So we're going to do a reading for the collective. Will is going to do some tarot readings for the collective, which is exciting.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about what you have in mind.
Well, I think that we're going to start off, we're going to be discussing what's going to be happening for the collective big picture. And we've also discussed this idea of are we going to be, what shadow work are we going to actually be addressing over the next, maybe 3 to 6 months, maybe a year. I think we're going to see some of this stuff play out. We keep seeing it show up in readings for clients individually, and I think we're also going to see it show up for the collective as well, because this is a big theme here.
And we also have a partial lunar eclipse, and apparently, according to NASA, it's a powerful one. It's going to be one that's going to cover a large portion of the Earth, and it's going to be one of the most powerful of the century, according to NASA. So pretty exciting stuff, astrologically speaking, energetically speaking. So not only for us individually, but also collectively. So this is great. What in the comments, let us know what types of things you guys are going through. You know, what new starts? What are you purging from the past?
And we can't see you guys, we can't see your names tonight, so we apologize that we can't individually address all of you, but for those of you on, hello.
Yeah, we're doing it from our phones this time, and so we don't have the laptop up. But welcome again. For those of you who have not been on my channel before, Jodi's Gems, welcome. And would love for you to subscribe to the channel, because we're going to have more of these, more with Will, my husband. And we have, episodes on all the time from guests around the world. Very exciting topics on healing, on, things that will help you, the collective. And one of my favorites was a recent interview, actually, with a Sky Nelson Isaacs. And he actually just had a webinar with Neil Donald Walsh in regards to synchronicities, the science, mysticism, all of that. And that was really neat. He just came out with his second book, Leap to Wholeness. So it was great to talk to him. Check that episode out, and make sure to just tap the little bell on the right, because then you'll be alerted to all of the new episodes on Guided, helping you navigate your divine journey. And that is what we're here to do, is to help. And all of my guests are here to help too. So what do you have on tap today?
Okay, so well, first off, I want to say really quickly, for those of you who are watching, we are continuing the QHHT training.
Yes, it's so exciting.
That will be offered along with the other modalities that we do offer. Go check out jodiandwill.square.site. You can also check out our Facebook page, Services with Jodi and Will. You can also check out our Instagram at ServicesJW. So we've also got Thinkific site coming up online. That's going to have online training, online webinars, online seminars. We're going to be doing Zoom webinars.
We have a class coming up, grounding and clearing class.
We do have our first class going up on Thinkific very soon. And one of the things that we're also going to be doing is we've discussed the idea of possibly doing a live webinar where you guys out there can be asking Jodi and myself direct questions.
Yep.
So we're going to be doing that probably soon. We're trying to figure out how to do that through Thinkific. So we're in the middle of that process. So
Yep. Will has part 1 done. I'm in the midst of finishing part 2. So
Right.
I would say in the next couple weeks, we should have that up and running
Yep.
for you guys to go ahead and sign up for that.
So we got some big stuff coming up. So, and also, by the way, all of this is due in large part, and even the video you're seeing, the stuff in the background you're seeing, is due in large part to the donations and the people that have helped us out. Steve H, you're awesome, and some of the other guys. Look, I can't remember his last name is Dukas, I think.
Yes.
So
Sorry for pronouncing it wrong.
Dukas, I know I butchered this. I'm sorry, guys.
Still, nevertheless, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for all of the donations, because it does help us. We actually get more equipment we can use to bring you guys better video. So,
Yep.
the more stuff like that we get, the happier you guys are.
Yeah,
So
we're
thank
kind
you.
of in transition right now. So
Yeah.
we're in between states. We're visiting family right now. So our big ring light that we normally use is in storage in another state. We just kind of have to make do right now. But thank you for bearing with us and supporting us and just being on this journey with us. So let's start out with some gratitude, though. Let's start out with 3 things, and then put in the comments what you're grateful for as well. So what are 3 things that you're grateful for?
I'm grateful for a loving, beautiful wife who does all this, yes, her, all this stuff behind the scenes, who makes it very easy for me to do my job and to present for you guys. What you guys don't see is that Jodi does a lot of work behind the scenes, does a lot of marketing, PR, basically all the crap I'm not good at. Now I'm like an operations guy, right? So if you tell me, hey, I need a website up, I need it to work, blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm your dude. If you tell me, I need you to make up a marketing campaign to market that website, not your dude. So, and I'm honest about what I am, right? So you guys know me. If you guys have ever seen my videos, you know I'm very blunt to the point. That's the first thing I'm grateful for. Jodi does an awesome job. I love you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I love you too.
Secondly, the second thing that I'm very grateful for so far is the fact that we have we do have family, and we do have friends and guys like you guys out in internet land who are our clients, who are our friends. And yes, we are very, very thankful for all of you. You guys are coming along with us on this journey. I'm very thankful that group continues to grow. We've seen a lot of help. We've been able to help a lot of people over the last 6 months to a year. So we're going to continue that upward trajectory of helping people. We hope to help more people. Guys, if you
Oh, we're able to see the comments. Yay.
we actually saw a comment. Oh my God.
Steve H.
It kind of smacked me in the forehead there. It's like, wait,
I was
what?
like, why is he pausing? What's going on?
Right. I saw the screen.
Are you okay, babe?
Yes.
I thought he was having like a spiritual download, like a major one that just like impacted. I'm like, what's going on?
So yes.
That happens often, by the way.
It does happen, but I'm just letting you guys know. Thank you guys for coming along with the journey. All of you, friends, family, loved ones, my wife. I appreciate all of you guys, and we as a couple collectively appreciate you guys. So thank you
so much, so much.
The last thing I would say, and I think this is also critically important, is that we have to kind of give gratitude for ourselves a little bit. I think. I don't mean that in an egotistical way. I think this last 2 years really, but this last year specifically has been extremely challenging due to COVID, due to family dynamics changing, due to people's reactions and weird behavior and stuff.
Yeah.
Understand that all of that you're seeing, that is spirit and the universe and your divine creator asking you to address that stuff that's being mirrored back to you. It's not meant to make you mad. It's not meant to upset you. It's meant to get your attention so you can start doing the internal work. And we're going to be talking about this in a little bit. This collective shadow work. I think that's what this last year has really been about. we as a species can no longer keep shoving stuff down and repressing it. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit. So again, I'm very thankful that our divine creator, and others above us, our guides, archangels, they are very helpful in trying to help us navigate through this period of time. So yeah, should be interesting.
Thank you. Thank
Yep.
you for sharing so much. So I am grateful for my loving husband. He does even the smallest things that are just so touching to my heart. Like he'll take my water bottle and he'll just like fill it. Like if it's just even halfway full, he'll be like, "Hey, can I top off your water bottle?" I just think like those little things that you can do for whether it's friends, a spouse, a loved one, those little things make such a difference.
Yep.
And so I really appreciate when you do that. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Even with the big things, the little things are so beautiful and meaningful. I also appreciate so much of your support. Thank you so much. It has made this journey very joyful for me. I really appreciate the guests who have been on this show, Guided, because their advice, the challenges that they've gone through and then overcome, have not only helped me, but so many people around the world. Because I feel like when we know people's challenges, their journeys, and they become so authentic and open and they just reveal their hearts, that's really touching. Because for me personally, it makes me feel like, oh, you know what? If they can do it, I can do it. We all can do it. And that's where we all help each other in this journey. So I'm grateful for that. I'm also grateful for our clients, for trusting us, for allowing us to be in this journey with them, to facilitate healing as well. And so grateful for my divine creator and for spirit guiding us and helping us navigate through our own challenges, but also to celebrate. There are little things that I get from spirit and I'm like, oh yeah, that's wonderful. And I need to celebrate that. And to be able to pose the question, how does God see me? That can give you a lot of joy, because sometimes we're so hard on ourselves and we have that maybe mental scripting and we can be, so critical. But if we ask, how do you see us, as far as the divine creator, that is really powerful. So yeah, those are some of the things I'm grateful for.
Real quick, I think to your point, I think it's nice to know that we're not alone in our struggles.
Yeah, absolutely.
And also to your point, I think it's interesting when you start asking to see yourself through sinless eyes.
Yeah.
There's a statement, there's a band called Dream Theater that they use that statement in one of their songs. They talk about this idea of, I think it's called A Line in the Sand is the name of the song. And there's a line in that song that talks about this idea of seeing people through sinless eyes. Or through stainless eyes,
yeah,
maybe.
like unconditional love, basically.
Yeah, and that's really what our guides, our creator, all see us through. So we're the ones that actually see ourselves through those glasses, as it were. And we've talked about this a little bit, actually, kind of on that point. I think folks are kind of stressing out a little bit around this idea of, well, what if I'm not in alignment with divine creator? What is sin? This idea of sin. Let's be really my idea of sin. Okay, this is not dogma. This is not theology. It's just my gut feeling. It's when you're not being in your authentic spiritual self. When you're out of alignment with you, that's when you start tapping into this idea of what sin really is. You're missing the mark.
Yeah, we actually talked about the etymology of the word sin actually just the other day with a client.
Yeah.
And it's basically, like Will said, being off the mark, right? If you have a target, being off the mark. So really, divine source helps you to be back in alignment, like Will and I have talked about before. So that's the beauty of it. It's not like, somebody trying to be like, oh, you're so bad, It's like basically saying, hey, let me help you get back into alignment of who you really are. So I think it's just a little reminder. So one of the things actually that I had spirit give me, which was so beautiful when we were working with a client, it like literally just came on the scene when we were working with her. And I want to share that with you because I want you to think about this as far as a mantra. We said that we were going to share a mantra with you. So it's, I am now inviting and calling in new energy of love and light that serves my highest divine purpose. And so it is. So I'm going to repeat that. And we'll also make sure that's in the comments for you. But I am now inviting and calling in the energy of love and light that serves my highest divine purpose. And so it is. So,
And so it is.
if we are feeling stuck, if we are feeling like, we're in a situation that no longer serves us, if we're trying to purge old cycles, if we're trying to do, shadow work, if we're trying to do inner child work, anything where we want to launch forward into who we really are, that mantra is really powerful. So just wanted to leave that with you.
I want to touch really quick on, we kind of alluded to this before we got on here, but I wanted just to touch on it really quick. So our last full moon's in Aries, right? Okay, the phrase I'm going to use for that full moon, oh my God, I'm glad that's done. Okay.
That was powerful, potent energy.
Oh, that was rough.
So strong. Yeah.
Very strong, very abrasive. And if you didn't have things cleaned out, like done, it was really grinding on you. We have this new moon coming up in Scorpio. And it's kind of what you were saying about this idea of the Phoenix rebirth. Mm-hmm. There is ideas of manifestation. It's also these ideas, if you study astrology, on the 8th house, sex, death, taxes, rock and roll, that sort of stuff, money. And money in unexpected ways, by the way. So we're going to see a lot of this stuff showing up around that full moon.
Or if there's any fear around money, it's like it's purging that cycle, and it's saying, you know what, I am going to set a new path, a new relationship with money. So that's that new moon.
Yeah, and if you look at like the Thoth deck, they have what's called the death card, right? The death card isn't talking about literal death. It's talking about this idea of purging out the old, bringing in the new, and to some extent, you're also being forced to change, kind of like the Tower card to a certain degree.
Mm-hmm. The Scorpio, yeah.
The universe has been kind of prompting you, pushing you. You've ignored it. You're like, that can't be. And all of a sudden, it's like, wham. The universe is like, look, I've been telling you for 14 weeks. Why haven't you done it? Nope, you're not going to do it? Okay, great. You're doing it now. Whoop. Mm-hmm. And the tower comes down.
Yeah, and you don't want the sting of the Scorpio.
Yeah.
So, also with the emotions or the under, currents of the water sign of that Scorpio emotional stuff that's underneath, what lies beneath, The
intensity.
Right. Or, what you have under the mask, maybe you're presenting something to the public, but then underneath you're like struggling or going through something.
You know who you are.
You know what you need to do.
Yeah, and directly to Jodi's point, by the way, there is this idea that with that, it is forcing us as adults to really, really closely look at what no longer serves us. One of the hardest things, I think, right? So, good comment, Diane. Thank you. One of the things that we find a lot of times is that because in Jodi and I, we've been very direct and very frank about the fact that not only do we both have individual counselors, but we also have a couples counselor, because we both are working through our stuff too, just like we're helping you guys work through your stuff. You guys are reaping the rewards of this. But what's happening is that we want to make a better marriage for both of us. So this is us kind of, not only improving us, but improving us.
It's like a masterpiece. You're constantly working on, the shading and the colors, and here's the spectrum of this color and that. Here's the little nuances, and it's just you're always making it beautiful, right?
Yeah.
So you never think of it, at least I don't, and I know my husband doesn't either. We don't think of it as like, we need to fix it. It's there's something broken. No, like we think of it as like a masterpiece. It's this beautiful work of art, and we never want it to go like south in any way, so we're always looking to enhance it.
And the Scorpio moon thing that Jodi alluded to earlier, which I thought was a brilliant definition, by the way, is something I think that we can kind of lean in on this a little bit, because the Scorpio moon, what it does essentially is it's forcing people to really deal with those deep harbored feelings that they no longer want people to see. and all that stuff gets brought to the surface right out so people can see it and be like, oh, hey, by the way, that anger you had that you repressed back when you were like 5 years old. Oh yeah, by the way, that hatred you had for so and so, the your fear of such and such, all that stuff that people do not want to deal with.
That's been percolating now explodes so that you can see it and deal
Yeah.
with it. Yep. Yes,
Yes.
layers of healing. That's right, Diana. Absolutely.
And to your point, Diane, just to be clear, this idea of the collective, right? All this stuff we're talking about is each of our individual shadows adding to the collective shadow as a species.
Actually, I like how Diana put this in her comment too. Even with the shadow, right?
Yeah, the
You're
shadow.
you're going to stitch that into that tapestry and it's still going to be beautiful. It still makes it this whole beautiful tapestry. That's what creates the wholeness. A lot of people, I think, they feel like it's just the light side of ourselves, the light aspects that are beautiful, but it's that together. It's integrating everything to make that tapestry of who we are in our relationships collectively, as humanity collectively, or just individually, you know.
And I'll interject here really quick. There's a phrase for that, and where you typically see this, by the way, is in very, very stringent spiritual movements. For example, Protestantism, Catholicism. You see it even in the metaphysical world. This whole idea of I'm only dealing with love and light. Well, guess what that's called? Psychologically, it's called bypassing, emotional
Yep.
bypass,
Emotional or spiritual
bypassing.
Yep. Denying, I don't want to look at it.
And either you're not allowing yourself to do the work, or more importantly, you're not allowing yourself to see the fact that you have to do the work. And I think that first step is just acknowledging the fact that guess what, we're all human. We have feelings like this, right? We all have them.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And we have to work through them. And in order for us to work through them effectively, we have to have outside help from someone who doesn't have the same blind spot we do.
So either we're helping each other with one another's blind spots,
Oh yeah.
or our therapists are, our other spiritual counselors are, because the surgeon can't always do their surgery, or they can't, you know?
And trust me, our therapists love to point out our blind spots and drill on us about this. Oh, well, you didn't do ... And you're going, oh my God.
Here's the thing that I love, though, about both of us, a compliment to both of us, okay? We are teachable. And that is the key for humanity. If we can be humble enough to be teachable, we can learn about our blind spots. We can integrate them so that we can become whole. And again, like I pointed out in the last live that we did, it's not a destination. It is a continuous practice. We don't just arrive there. We're continuously practicing to be whole.
And you're never going to learn like that in ego.
Right.
That's something that
Right.
I've learned over the last 6 months, probably.
Yeah.
The more exactly, be willing to be willing, right?
Yes. Love that.
Something else too. That one of our early therapists that we tried taught us was being comfortable with the discomfort.
Yeah.
Because what happens is in that place of discomfort, what's actually happening for you is energetically you're putting yourself in a place where you're forcing yourself to really have to be teachable, and you're really forcing yourself to kind of move out of what you've been in previously.
Yep.
A lot of times people get sedentary either emotionally or energetically, and what happens is when they're in that state of being sedentary, in that state, there's no growth. So what we have to do is we have to kind of knock ourselves free of that and allow ourselves to continue moving forward in that growth and in that positive development. And the thing is, the bottom line is, the speed at which you do that is completely perfect for you.
You are where you need to be in your journey
Exactly.
right now.
All the services that we offer on our website, every single one, underneath of all the names and the modalities and what they are, all of them are focused on this idea of giving you information to gain a direction in which you need to start doing your personal healing.
Yep.
All of
Yep.
them. And
oftentimes we're the messengers, you're the interpreter, and you know how to implement that and integrate that into your journey.
Yep.
So one of the things I also wanted to point out is with this new moon in Scorpio, it's also an invitation and an opportunity to plant the seeds of your soul, your intentions for what you want to do in your next chapter. So make sure to write that down. So it's like the intention And everything in your DNA, when you put it like in the pen or you type it, it's like the feeling in your fingers, all the intention, all that energy and power, having it written down, there's something about that that solidifies that, and then it moves you forward in forward momentum. So try that.
Something else too that we're learning from Julia Cannon and Dolores Cannon when we're doing the classes that we're doing is that when you first go to sleep or when you first wake up, you're technically in. Actually, let's back up for a second. If you're watching TV, if you're watching this video right now, if you are listening to music, if you're doing something that requires concentration, you are in an alpha state, meaning you're already in a trance state.
Or like a driving trance state.
They have what's called road hypnosis that happens to people all the time. They don't know how they got there. Reason why I'm bringing this up is because you can use this to create outcomes that you want in your life without even going to a hypnosis person. Now, what we've learned is there are some times where we have to jack into the SC, what they call the SC or the subconscious a little bit, to fix certain physical ailments, because we do believe, both of us believe, that the subconscious can heal the physical body. We've seen this on videos. We've watched Dolores and Julia both do it.
There's research as well.
There's tons of research around it and people are going to say, well, that's just psychosomatic. And the fact is, it's not. There are multiple people on her videos that have had issues like diabetes, like back issues, like scoliosis, like heart problems. All of them were fixed within 3 days. But this brings to my point, though, that I'm trying to tell you guys is that when you first go to sleep, when you're laying in bed and you're starting to kind of zone out a little bit and you feel your body starting to relax, once you slip into that alpha state, give yourself something for your mind, your subconscious to work on. Because to your mind, to your body, you are literally the voice of God inside that body. So what is it that you want to speak into creation?
Yeah. This also brings me to a comment that was on our discussion page. And for those of you who want to join it, we invite you to do so. So it's Services with Jodi and Will discussion page, and it's on Facebook. One of the comments was about AI, which is great. We love when people just discuss them on themselves, things that they're thinking about, and they just bring it out on the page. It's awesome. One of the things, though, that we talked about was praying before you go to sleep or praying over your food. And it's not just because it's dogma. It's not just because, you were taught that because, when you went to Sunday school or because of religion. Literally, there is power and energy because we're powerful beings as well. And with the alignment together, coalescing with the divine, with the divinity, kind of like the force, right? When you are able to have that intention to pray over, say, your food, right? You're saying, I want the food here to properly and perfectly metabolize into my body the way it needs to also be protected from, say, any residue of pesticides or something, right? Any of that, okay? Because we have the power to make it so. Just like water turned, or Jesus turned water into wine, right? We have the ability to make things so. And also, just like before we go to sleep, in the sleep and dream space, in the astral, we want to make sure that we only give authority, at least for me, this is what I do. I only give authority to those in light and on the team of the divine creator to be around me, and only for my highest purposes. Because the astral can be like the wild, wild west. And I don't like fooling around, in that realm. And like Will was saying, just before you go to bed, you could even ask a question and have things figured out, solved, resolved, all of that. So I think prayer, meditation, all of that's really powerful.
When you do that suggestion, by the way, the first answer you get is the right answer.
Yeah, first intimations of the spirit is what that's called, oftentimes.
Prompting the spirit, leading the spirit, yeah. But also, too, your subconscious can actually kind of give you that, too, right? That confirmation. So, now, I think that was... We did what's going on with the collective part, right? We got that done? Yeah.
Yep. And also, what else are we seeing with the collective shadow? I feel like even politically, I mean, we saw what happened with California. Gavin Newsom reelected.
We also saw it happen with Virginia.
We
as
saw
well,
it happen
right?
with Virginia.
Youngkin got elected.
Yep,
So
yep. And we're seeing that in some states, parents are not even given the authority to have say over their children in education, with healthcare, so many aspects. And this is almost like a balance, or an imbalance rather, an imbalance of power with choice, with freedom, power structures that are, taking free agency away. So I think this is a collective shadow, but what it is it's actually a reflection of our inner landscape. Where is there an imbalance of power? Is there something that's thwarting some other function or thought process that actually is trying to come through and help us actually? So something's overriding that may be out of balance and maybe causing us ailments. So think about something like that.
I would even take this a step further. Again, I wouldn't say that I'm a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. I have enough data that tells me that there are things going on. Our government has done things. I've even talked about what they've done, both to me and to my wife and to some of our clients, although I don't mention clients by name. I personally think the government is trying to keep people in a fight or flight response.
Yeah, nervous system,
Now,
fight or flight.
what that does,
High alert.
what that does is it keeps you under a constant state of stress. And when you're under that constant state of stress, what's happening is you never get into a higher energy or higher vibe thought form. And I believe that's completely purposeful on their part. Because to me, this is that is the easiest form of mind control. Constantly suggest the fact that there's bad things happening, throw it in the news. If you guys want to see what we're talking about, just go look at Project Mockingbird, which never ended officially.
Yeah. Yep.
And
Yep.
the third thing I would say on this is when you keep people trapped in that lower thought level, that lower thought form level, what happens is you as an individual essentially are giving over any form of freedom, free agency. You're giving over any form of self-determination, which our government, the United States of America, and many other governments that have a constitution allow. Personal liberties, all this stuff kind of goes out the window when you start stepping into this idea of mind control and being, controlling the masses, right? We've posted some stuff on our page repeatedly about neuroweaponry, right? And these neuroweapons, people ask, well, why would a government develop this stuff? Well, this is exactly why they develop it. Because they do not believe the sheep have the right to think. And that's where the problem comes in. Who determines who's the sheep? And last time I checked, we voted our government into place. Therefore, they work for us. So I don't understand who they think the sheep is.
But again, it's a reflection of our internal landscape, and that's where we want to bring our power back to us, okay?
Yep.
So do not give your power away. Yes, those things are going on the external landscape, but it is a reflection of the internal landscape. And so again, for those of you just joining us, thank you for your support. Thank you for joining Jodi's Gems, and I just love all of you for joining us. I want to also remind you of the mantra that I suggested we think about to bring that power back to us and to realign and refocus our energy. And that is, I am now inviting and calling in new energy of love and light that serves my highest divine purpose. And so it is. So yes, claiming our sovereignty, claiming a higher frequency, a higher vibe for us to concentrate on, to integrate back into our being. So when we work on that inner landscape and we concentrate on that, our external world will reflect that.
And understand this too, right? So we were talking about shadow work, right? All this stuff we were talking about shadow work. This is the government's collective shadow. We're also talking about our collective shadow.
It is part of our collective shadow as well, yeah.
Something that I kept feeling when we were originally discussing the idea of doing this particular topic on Jodi's Gems for Guided was that I think the three emotions that people typically have the toughest time with tend to be feelings of fear, feelings of anger, and feelings of betrayal, right? These are all deep-seated, deep in the amygdala type response emotions, right?
Yeah.
And
The amygdala hijack emotions.
yeah, so what Jody's kind of referring to is this idea that one of our therapists told us about, that he was saying that with some people, especially when you've had PTSD or any form of trauma, really, the amygdala tends to operate in this heightened state, right? And what happens is that when those emotions that you're very sensitive to, meaning those feelings you had during the trauma, show up, all of a sudden your brain gets kind of hijacked and you feel flooded. The term flooded gets being used a lot. But that's what we're really seeing. I mean, look at the news, look at what's going on with many things in the media, right? The things they want to talk about, right? All of it is based on one of those three responses. And a lot of times what they're hoping is, they're hoping that your amygdala is going to respond to that energy in an unhealed way, in my opinion.
And what does that cause? More chaos.
More chaos.
What does that cause with other people? If we point the finger, more divisiveness, more polarization. So it just seems like it's all part of the souped up plan, and we need to make sure that, nope, we just cut that. We cut that plan off, and just make sure that we bring our power back to us. And like we saw in the comments, we make sure that we claim our sovereignty.
And as the biblical statement goes, please take the splinter out of your eye before talking about the log in mine.
Yeah.
And oh, by the way, if you think
the moat.
If you think you have the splinter out of your eye, you don't. Just so we're clear. Because the thing is,
nobody's perfect, right? We always have so much work to do on ourselves. Like, how do we have time and energy to concentrate on somebody else anyway? Really?
Yeah, and think about this too, right? So emotions are like an onion. You're always peeling back layers until you get to that little tiny nub in the middle, right? And for us specifically, I mean, some of the stuff that Jodi and I are getting into now with our marriage with us, we're dealing with some pretty deep core level trauma stuff that normally we don't like talking about with people, but because we happen to be doing a live set of videos, and my wife happens to be in the media, here we are. So. Yeah,
the good side of the media, though.
Right. Yeah,
that's why we're doing this healing type of journey, because I have shifted completely to do this type of intuitive media that strengthens humanity, that strengthens me, that strengthens my relationships, so that I can be aligned with the divine creator. That is so important to me. Let's see, this comment says, HPA access gets to be, oh shoot, it's disappearing. We appreciate your comment. Unfortunately, I don't know how to keep it because we're on our phones rather than our laptop.
The timer doesn't allow it to stick up there, but yes.
I know. I wonder if we turned it this way, if that would work.
We don't want to do that.
Thank you for the comment. We'll read it and respond though. I did want to say though that the media though, specifically me being in mainstream media prior to now, be careful what you ingest. Make sure that you limit mainstream media stuff, because to me, that is ultimate polarization. I feel like it's such a circus, especially on the network level, on the national network level. They're sitting there, there's so much commentary back and forth, and it just seems like a fight and a debate. And really, what they try to do is they're trying to get ratings, they're trying to get views, and it just seems like it's this planned circus, and it's ridiculous, quite frankly. Luckily, when I was in the media and mainstream, I was able to go on scene for actual news, like if there was a fire, if there was something that actually was happening. So it wasn't like derived or anything like that. And then a few years ago, I was able to do really positive things in the community. So we were able to identify people who were doing acts of kindness in the community. And that was lovely. So, but shifting to this type of, content has been so refreshing to me.
Yeah, the healing work, the intuitive work, the disclosure work that we do, all of this is addressing that collective shadow. It's addressing the collective unhealed parts of who we are. It's addressing everything that people don't want to talk about, unfortunately. And now we're starting to see some change even in that idea. And I think that the final idea that I would put in there as well is the fact that I think this is our way of ascension as a species, because as we deal with that collective shadow, we learn at some point that we're not going to repeat that mistake yet again.
Yeah, very important.
And
Yeah.
that's the bigger message, I think, energy wise, as we're seeing what's going on in the world today. Are we going to allow things that happened, 20, 30, 50, 70 years ago to happen yet again? And it seems like humanity keeps forgetting that lesson for some reason. I'm not sure why.
Well, it's just like individually, are we going to keep incarnating and making the same mistakes? Or are we going to heal certain aspects and say, we've graduated from that lesson and we've ascended to a new aspect, a new iteration of ourselves? We've grown in compassion, we've grown in love. We are healing so that we can help humanity, we can help the planet. This is what's so important. Speaking of PTSD, though, military vets are not the only ones who get PTSD. You can get PTSD from trauma. I had PTSD from being in the news, literally, because you're seeing so many horrific things. Like when you're reporting on an arson fire, when you're reporting on deaths, the high intensity levels in the newsroom, because of the deadlines. I would get sick. And I remember being in the chopper one time, and I got so sick because I get motion sickness. I literally threw up in the chopper. And then they told me once I landed, no, you have to go live. It doesn't matter. They do not care about what's going on with you. It is like, what have you done for me lately? And you're going to go live no matter what. These viewers, our ratings, that's all they care about. So you get this PTSD where it's just like, oh my gosh, I was so traumatized in various ways, So the trauma is something that you need to address as well, so that you're not in this heightened state of alert with your nervous system, that you can actually relax and just be. Because for a while I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do something. I need to do something. I had this to-do list constantly, and we don't want to live with a to-do list. It's great to be, have things to do. It's great to make sure we're doing good things in the world. However, you also need to make sure you're a human being, not a human doing.
Right.
You are worthy of just being you and to relax. And I've pointed this out before, but we think babies are so cute, right? They do nothing. They just sit there. And we know how intrinsically valuable and worthy they are. Just these beautiful, worthy beings. Well, Guess what? We are too. We don't have to do anything. And we are loved by the divine, by divine source, by divine creator. We don't have to do anything. But we put those things on ourselves. Like we're not worthy unless we do this. We're not worthy unless we attain this. And so we just need to relax and just be.
So a couple little spiritual points of alliteration, I guess. The easiest way to say that would be to say that, one, Buddha, who sits in his seat all day long, doesn't do much. All he does,
a good point.
all he does is tell people enlightened thoughts and acts like an awesome badass.
Right, spiritually. Spiritual badass.
Jesus hung on the cross. He didn't do much. He hung on a cross and literally got impaled with a spear, and he saved the entire world. You do not have to be a human doing to be awesome and be you.
Right.
You have to do what your calling is. And if your calling happens to be, like us, for example, our calling is to help people. We know this. So we focus on that. That's us humans being.
Yeah.
Some folks, their calling may be to drive trucks across the U.S. Okay, great. You're going to be driving trucks across the U.S.
To the best of your ability.
The best of your ability, and you're human being.
Yep.
But you're not human doing. And this idea that we can replace one with the other is not true. It's a false paradigm. So I think we'd be very careful of that.
I think if we really drop into our heart our heart space of being, it makes the doing more powerful, whatever we choose to do. So if we can just be in a very potent way in our heart space, we launch into doing in an impactful, powerful way for not only ourselves, but humanity. And so
Yeah.
that's the key, is to be able to balance that.
So if you look at Don Miguel Ruiz, the guy that wrote the Four
Four
Agreements,
agreements, yeah.
and you look at what Buddha also says, this idea of mindfulness, right? Right thought, right action, right speech, right behavior, right? All of these things go back to the same core belief set in terms of humans being something, right? That's how we're effectively going to deal with our collective shadow, is us stepping into a state of being, not a state of doing. If you're in a state of doing, you're essentially mentally and intellectually bypassing you in this time and space.
There are some people, and their purpose is actually just to anchor love. They've
Yeah.
just come here to anchor love. They energetically, wherever they go, they are basically like, what do you call them?
They're
Grid makers, or
we call them earth wardens a lot of times.
sure, they
It's a
basically,
metaphysical term. Yeah.
they're in charge of the grid, basically.
Yeah.
And so they anchor that love within the grid, okay?
Yeah.
And that is their purpose. So they don't even have to do anything. Just being here and anchoring that love is absolutely perfect for them. And thank you for those of you who are doing that. I think it's so beautiful, and I feel it. There are places that I'll go and I'll be like, oh, I feel so much love here. And that's not just the place, right? Of course, there are energetic ley lines throughout the world and everything like that. But also, I know it's because of certain people, what they've left there. In fact, my daughter and I, we went to Africa, we went to Zambia a few years ago. And one of the things we did with the group, there was a piece of land there, and the founder of the group we went with, it was called Mothers Without Borders. And she asked us all in the group to leave something on the land. She said, just leave something positive on the land. And the trait or the attribute that I left for the land was illumination. She said, I want to build this school for the children here. I want you all to leave something. So I thought, you know what? That is such a beautiful, beautiful way. Whether you're going into your home, somebody else's home, maybe your own property, maybe your work, maybe a city, leave something from your heart there, to anchor into that part of the grid. I think that was really beautiful. So all of us in that group, we left something there. There was illumination, there was knowledge, there was love. There were so many beautiful things that were left in that part of Zambia where she was going to build that school for the children. And it's been built since then. The children are thriving. They're so happy. She sent us pictures and they're smiling, and it's just amazing. So, and my daughter at the time, she was a sophomore in high school, and she was having a hard time. She was going through some anxiety and some depression, and they took our phones away from us, which was awesome, for like that whole time. And she's like, Mom, I didn't realize that this phone just gives me stress. And she's like, the drama of it all, and, the text messages from my friend group and this and that. And she's like, as soon as that was taken away from me, she's like, I didn't feel the stress. And so sometimes we just need to unplug. And so she was like, Mom, I love you. And, I hadn't heard that for a little while from her, because she was feeling so down. So that trip was just a game changer. It was absolutely amazing. I've told Will about it. I've showed him some pictures. I mean, you go there and it's like these children, they're so happy. They have nothing. Well, according to us, because we feel like we have so much here in America.
Yeah.
But they absolutely have nothing. I mean, they don't even know when their next meal is what it's going to be or when it's going to be, but they're smiling from ear to ear. There's so much love emanating from them. So they taught me so much. Here I was going to like help them, but they just blessed me in so many ways. So it was an amazing trip. So wherever you go, if you have a chance, leave something from your heart space in the grid, wherever that is.
Yep. Okay. So We talked this idea of doing a reading for the collective a little bit.
Yep.
So I'm going to walk through this a little bit. I'll be showing you guys the cards. If you're into tarot, you can follow along. I also teach tarot. Jodi teaches tarot as well. We're going to be doing some classes as well on our Thinkific site to cover that as well, if you guys are interested in that sort of thing.
And you know, those of you who, you know, may not be into tarot, you can also do it with, you know, maybe an inspirational book, maybe scriptures, whatever inspires you, you know,
Oracle decks, pictures,
oracle decks, you know,
all kinds of stuff.
if you infuse the energy of your heart into that, if you just flip it and you have an intention or a question that you infuse into whatever you're going to utilize, it will land or open up to what you're supposed to read or what you're supposed to know or what you're supposed to, you know, basically ingest, you know, spiritually and emotionally for your life or for that day, whatever. So that's another idea. You don't just have to use tarot cards. But Will, what he did is he just put a little spread out right now. I don't know if we can move the camera, but we'll just kind of go like that.
Blah.
So you can see that he just...
Little thing behind the curtain.
Yeah, he just did that. And so there we go. What exactly was your...
So my
mindset
my thought is, when I did the spread, was I was looking at this idea of what is it that the collective is doing currently, and what is it that the collective needs to heal in order to get to where they need to be, right? So the first card that showed up actually in this was this idea of, let's see if I can get it over so people can see it without the, here we go, right? Okay, everyone can see that hopefully. That card was the Eight of Pentacles. This card talks with this idea of everyone's trying to do the work, and sometimes they will eventually get recognized. Now, understand the term recognition in this case doesn't necessarily mean physically in the here and now. You may get recognition once you transition back up there. And that is one of those things that people, I think, sometimes forget, is that we're not doing work just for being in the physical here and now. We're also doing work spiritually while we're here that clears things out going into the future, right?
And the recognition could also be from spirit or from your guides, like, you know what, you're on track. They might also give you spiritual downloads to let you know you're on track.
Yeah. The thing that we're being crossed with right now, and many of us are being crossed with, is this idea of the Knight of Cups. Hopefully everyone, it's hard to see on this light. Here we go. It's hard to see in that light. The Knight of Cups is what I would call the Sir Percival card. For those of you who don't know Arthurian legend, essentially you have Arthur and most of the knights going north, away from Camelot. Percival says, I don't think so, and rides south. And eventually he finds the Grail and brings it back to the court, presents it to Guinevere. Guinevere doesn't know what to do with it, so she presents it to Arthur. And Arthur, being the love-stoned idiot that he is, doesn't dip the Grail into the water to heal the land, which he should have done, and it would have fixed everything. But the other part of this is that, metaphorically speaking, what you typically see with this card, when it's a need to or should to, a lot of times people get into this, like, they're seeking a savior, they're seeking something to save them, they're seeking someone else to do the work for them, right?
Which, you know, leads me to think, where are we dipping our cups?
Right.
You know, what body of water, what body of knowledge, or what person, you know?
Or in some cases, what well are we poisoning?
Exactly. So make sure you really think closely and from your heart, where is that cup going? Where are you filling your cup? You know, that is what you need to think about.
Yep.
Hi, Nha. Hello.
Yep, hello.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Yep, thank you for joining us. So the two things in the past that we see showing up here, and this is kind of ironic, actually. We have the Queen of Wands showing up, and hopefully you guys can see the card. It's not too crazy with the lighting in here. That seems to be that. There we go. Da-da-da. The Queen of Wands, right? In this case, she's Debbie Downer, I believe. We have so the internet term today would be, you know, the Karens of the internet, or the Carltons of the internet. So if you're someone who is around one of these people, you know who I'm talking about. So let's talk about this just for a minute. This gets right to the core of some of this collective shadow work we're talking about. Individuals who get angry and they start venting their vehementness, their anger at people in a way that's completely inappropriate because they feel they have no control over their life.
Let's unpack that real quick, though. What is really at the root of it? Comment if you feel like you have an answer.
Yeah.
Would love to hear your comments. We kind of broke this down the other night. Will's sister, myself, and we all together were like, what is the root of that? And really, those people are not feeling heard or seen. It goes back to family of origin.
Yeah, there's some powerlessness going on there, fear. Yeah,
Yep,
exactly.
yep. Thank you.
So you have all this stuff going on in the background with these individuals. And unfortunately, because of how they're verbalizing it, they're getting more recognition than those of us that are doing the healing, unfortunately. So
Yeah. So Jazzy was saying fear in the heart, unfinished business, feeling like they need to either over-explain, explain, express, all of that because maybe they felt shut down at some point. So,
or when you hear people start using the term mansplaining or womansplaining something, completely inappropriate. It's just inappropriate. People, please just stop. Because the thing is if we as adults know how to communicate effectively with our partners, with those around us, those terms should never be used. It's demeaning. Okay. But what's happened in the near term past is that we've had this idea of what we would look at as a collective heartache, betrayal, hurt, pain, right? And what does that actually mean, right? Well, there are people who cling on to certain ideas, certain beliefs about the way things in this country have went down over the last, 5 to 10, maybe even 20 years. And the fact is that if you look at how things are progressing, many people would agree this is not the direction we wanted the United States to go in. So the question is how do we right this cart out of the ditch, right? And I think that's the real big question, right? And part of this goes back to this idea of healing that we've talked about. Part of it goes back to disclosure. How do you do disclosure in a way that people can get healing from that? They know, I know what happened to me, and I know how to get help now. I know how to address what happened to me, right? Think about the whole Havana incident that happened here 3 or 4 years ago, where we opened up our embassy in Havana. They get attacked by, they believe, either sonic or energy weapons. And all of a sudden, we've got everyone that was working there, including the Navy personnel, the Marine personnel, and a lot of the ambassadorial staff. They're being treated now at, what's the hospital there in D.C.?
Walter Reed.
Walter Reed, thank you. They're all getting treated there now. So it's like, okay, so they believe this was a weapon attack of some kind.
And this, unfortunately, is not new. The American embassy in Moscow in the late 60s, they were also targets. And, Americans, they got cancer, they got sick, lots and lots of issues with that. So this is just, it's pretty sad. So targets, that again, this is something to evaluate when it comes to mirroring the collective shadow, what's going on in the external and what's going on versus the internal, your internal landscape, okay, and the targeting and things of that nature.
Let's talk about this really quick, just so we're clear on this term, right? When Jodi's using the term mirroring, what we're actually saying is that we see this emotion going on out in the world. How is that resonating internally with us?
Are we targeting ourselves somewhere?
Are we allowing ourselves to be targeted somewhere? Are we, have we had this happen to us and we haven't healed that part of us yet?
Here's an example of when we might unconsciously target ourselves, okay? We might have anger turned inwardly. And what that can turn into, physically, it can manifest into something like cancer. And if you kind of evaluate where that cancer might be in the body, say it's, lungs, say it's nose, whatever, you can figure out what that internally is telling you.
So a good example of this, right? When a woman is angry at her reproductive system because maybe she wanted a family, for example, right? And all of a sudden she has endometriosis. Well, Dolores Cannon and Julia Cannon have both talked about this idea that that's actually anger turned inward toward that reproductive system because they were angry they didn't have that chance. And you look at stuff like, well, for example, look at what happened with me earlier this year. The pleurisy I had. That's inward turn anger because I felt I had certain things I was not dealing with, and that's what actually partially led us to kind of going into therapy a little bit because we knew there's certain things we had to deal with. If you look at any form of cancer, right, depending upon where the cancer is in the body, that
gives you a clue.
That gives you a clue in terms of what the anger is aimed at, but more importantly, it also tells you
where you need to heal.
Where you actually need to heal that anger within yourself and release that anger, right?
Yep. Before you go on real quick, let's look at that Three of Swords again with the heart. Something that came to my mind when Will pulled up this card too is from the collective front. I also was thinking on the political front, okay?
Oh, yeah.
So if we look at, feeling betrayed in any way, say, people think there's two parties, right? And
there's actually one.
And there's actually one. So if we think of the heart as all of us, right? All of us. And we think, oh my gosh, well, this party did this to me or this party did this to me. And then we think, oh, the final sword, boom, because however we feel like we've been betrayed, right?
Yep.
So the thing is to me, this is just a symbol of the fact that we need to come together in one heart and know that actually we are supported. And instead of pointing the finger at like that person, that party, whatever, because I think that final sword right down the middle is the fact that it's like the sentiment of, ha ha ha, guess what? It's not the polarization of either or. It is, we're trying to make it so we are making it so you think that we're working against you guys, by two parties. But really, you have people who are funding both parties. Just like World War II, you have people who funded both the Nazis, and Americans. You have people who made weaponry for both sides.
And if you want to research that really quick, go look at Prescott Bush.
Prescott Bush, yep.
Chase Bank, the fact that they actually backed America and the Nazis.
Right.
Anyhow, the thing that I see on that middle sword is actually us allowing ourselves to, in fact, betray ourselves. We start giving into certain conspiracy theories, certain lies, certain thoughts, and we allow ourselves to somehow get hijacked or betrayed from what our true thoughts, feelings, and emotions are. And we betrayed ourselves. So, something else that I've noticed, and I've seen this show up in multiple readings in the last month for whatever reason, is this idea. I want to back up just for a second before I get there. Something else we talk about in our particular belief set, our religion, is this idea of the group they call the Gadianton robbers, right? These individuals who live up in the hills, they come down to the cities, they rape, murder, pillage, steal, kill, then they go back up to the mountains, right? That metaphor is something that we see a lot of.
It's like an archetype.
It's an archetype that we're seeing a lot of right now in Washington, D.C., and even in local politics, even in certain states, certain cities. We have to be very careful about how and who in whom we place our trust. If their trust is not in a higher divine creator, even when they say it is, question it, because I do not believe anything a politician says, especially if they're a lawyer. No disrespect to any lawyers out there, but I'm sorry, but your job sucks. Anyhow, the point is that when you have somebody who is morally ambiguous about what they believe and they're willing to be morally flexible, you need to question it. Lawyers should never be leaders. Choose a leader who's not a lawyer.
We know not all lawyers are this way.
But many of them are.
So there's just been a swath of lawyers who...
So getting to my point, a lot of times what's happened, especially with what's going on today in the media and what's happening with us personally in our lives, We get in this position right here, right? If you guys can see that, I guess it's the Nine of Cups, right? Yeah, Nine of Cups. The Nine of Cups talks about this idea of I've accomplished all of these emotional things, and I don't need to accomplish anything else because I've done all these great things in my life. Well, that may be true, but the idea is that doesn't mean it doesn't arrest your spiritual development, and that's what we as beings have to remember is that as long as we're alive here, we have to continue along our spiritual arc and development somehow.
Again, we've talked about a practice. We never arrive to a destination.
Yeah.
We're continuously practicing. We're continuously looking within. Where can we still grow? Where are we peeling back another layer of that onion?
You've never ever heard Jodi or I use the phrase guru or master or anything like that. And why? Because we're practitioners. We're trying to practice what we preach. And that is so much harder. If I want to say, yes, I'm a guru, I probably could get away with that. But the fact is I don't, because it's in my ego. I want to be practicing what I preach to people, and I want everyone else to practice what is being preached. Because I think there's this idea that I had in my NDE, actually, which we will get into at some point when we do our videos. Something that Christ told me, he said, if you want to create heaven on earth, you have to act as I would act on earth. And that's a very different way of being. It's a fourth density, fourth dimension mindset about how to act in love toward your fellow man, right? Now, that brings me to the next card. That card, the emotional smugness card, was how the collective internally feels about itself.
Emotional smugness, like that.
This card talks about, this is the temperance card, if the light will cooperate with me here. There we go. This card talks about the idea of, this is how the universe is looking at us. This is Archangel Michael, by the way, for those people who don't know what this card is. Understand that tells me we have a minor arcana card internally and a major arcana card externally. That tells me that we as a species, we as a collective, have a disconnect between the way we see ourselves and the way the universe actually sees us. The universe sees us as something more powerful, larger, bigger, more empowered than what we give ourselves credit for. You know, when people get in this mindset of, well, they did something to me, this victimhood mindset, right? This third-party group, you know, the Masons, the Knights Templars, the CIA, whoever. When people get into that mindset, you're giving your power away to another organization. We've talked about this ad nauseum, but I'm going to keep kicking this horse until people stop saying it.
Like I said at the beginning of the live, you know, take your power back. Don't get into that victim mentality, because that's giving your power away. I'm
going to keep kicking this horse until people stop saying it. So it's just a habit of mine. But the idea is that if we give our power to somebody else, we're essentially stripping away our own power, and we have nothing left power-wise to give or to have. Yeah, thank you, Diane. Now, moving forward.
Thank you. Good night, Diana. So actually, one of the other things about Archangel Michael is that what comes to my mind is not only is he protecting us, but we actually have the ability to be protectors of others and protectors of our own power, like we talked about, you know, bringing our power back to us.
Ourselves,
and being good stewards of not only our power, but we don't want to misuse our power. So when it comes to, you know, law enforcement, authority, all of that, there can be, as we've seen, a lot of misuse of power. Right. And we know Archangel Michael is over law enforcement, you know, that nature of in that realm. However, we want to make sure that we're good stewards of that area of power.
So one of the things that we're going to see happen in the near-term future is we've been noticing trends with this in the internet and the news, is that we believe there will be a contraction within the United States, at least, and maybe worldwide, in terms of resources, money. And what the idea there is that those people who trust their gut, they trust their ability to invest, they trust their ability to make money, as some of us do, right? Those individuals can work on this aspect of who we are, which is the Four of Pentacles. This idea talks about, notice how the crown chakra, heart, solar plexus chakras are blocked, and how this person's not grounded, they're not touching the ground. What I would recommend is, first off, instead of giving into fear, first off and foremost, evaluate whether or not a particular response or a particular outcome is what you want. Right now, we're in this state where we as individuals have the choice on which timeline we want to be in. We've actually seen this happening where we've seen things happen. We're both like, did that just happen? But what was happening is we were actually being given the choice to view a different timeline.
Yep, the timelines either get fuzzy, they fluctuate, you see them dancing around, and you're like, wow. So you can almost, you like Will said, you can actually see into the next timeline.
So what I'm suggesting to everyone is stay focused on the higher outcome, positive outcome timeline. The one that's better for us as a species and us collectively, right? That's where we should be focusing our energy, focusing all of our efforts, because I personally think that we are emulations of the divine creator. We have the ability to manifest and co-create things together. So why not create a positive outcome for ourselves instead of, allowing someone else to write the tail end of our book and that being a shit show. So
also the Four of Pentacles, the number 4, it has the energy of getting your house in order. All of the details, getting organized. So kind of that, we're past the spring cleaning, but if you think of the symbolism of fall, it's just getting everything in order just before the winter. You know how the bears hibernate and they make sure they're prepared, they get everything, all their food, everything.
All the nesting behaviors.
Right, all the nesting behavior before they go in for their winter's night's sleep. So make sure your house is in order emotionally, spiritually, and physically so that you are prepared for whatever comes. Because as you know, we've all heard the buzz, the rumors. We've heard about possible comms going down. Make sure you just are prepared. Don't live in fear, as Will and I have both talked about. We don't live in fear.
Nope.
We can actually create the timeline, or we can choose the timeline that we want to be on.
Yep.
So even if that timeline were to be and is in existence, we don't have to be on that timeline.
The next thing I would say is the far-term future is we will get some peace and rest out of this once this stuff starts to settle. If my light would allow me. There we go.
There we go.
The Four of Swords there. This card talks about peace, respite, prayer, finding those things. I believe we will find those things as we start working through this process, because what I see collectively is that humanity has already stepped through the tower moment. We've already went through this moment collectively. What's happening now is we're parachuting down, trying to see where we can land, right? And some people didn't have parachutes, or like we've joked about, some people are building their parachutes
on the way down
as they're doing the jump. So,
I mean, kudos for those who have faith and are doing it, but those who did it because they were unprepared, there's that too. So, which one are you?
And the question becomes, regardless of who you are in that, we're all in the process of this, right? I think what we're going to see happen at some point is that as the energy starts to settle and the energy level becomes higher on the planet, which is what we're sensing happen, as we're seeing happen, I think what's going to eventually occur is that there will be this shift. Hello, Dr. Salas. There will be.
Thanks for joining us.
There will be a shift eventually, and I think we're waiting on that moment. All right. So let's step into what we call the hope and fear and the outcome card, because I think those two things are very important in this particular reading. The hope and fear is this one, and this is a big one for humanity right now, I believe. If everyone can see the Fool card here, the light, hopefully, here we go. The Fool card talks not about being a fool, it talks about faith. People,
kind of like we just talked about, the parachute and the faith.
People do not want to be made the fool. So how do we not become the fool in everyone else's lives, right? Well, we start trusting our intuition. We start trusting that divine creator will protect us and take care of us. We start trusting that everything that we have is there. We prepare. We do prepare. We make sure we have the things we need, but we also make sure that we as individuals, we don't give in to all this fear porning that happens on the internet and the TV. Because again, it's this whole idea of conditioning, right? If they keep eliciting that fight or flight reflex, you're in stress, and that stress puts you in a lower vibrational state, which means you can't get up into the higher vibrational parts of who you are, spiritually speaking, right? So, and that I think is very, very important. The last card, which is the outcome card in this, which I see happening anywhere from 3 to 6 months out to maybe a year, depending on how things shake.
And before you go on to that, if we're in a heightened nervous system fight or flight mode, we are cut off from real clear thinking.
Yes.
We don't have clarity. We're not going to be in discernment. And so that is why it's important to
You're emotionally flooded.
Yeah, you're emotionally flooded. That's why it's important to be in our heart space. It's important to be aligned. It's important to have that meditation and that prayer so that when all chaos is going on, and we've seen moments of that, you can still be in the stillness of who you are and know your divinity. It's like, it reminds me of when we see these action movies and you see these masters completely see everything still. They see all the action going on, but it becomes like it stops, right? And they know exactly what they're going to do. They know how they're going to execute because they have mastered themselves inside. So that's the way we need to see, and we need to have a vision for things. So I think once we're right with ourselves, the chaos is just going to kind of be like, oh, that's periphery. That's on the periphery, because we're going to not give our power away.
As my staff sergeant in the Marine Corps told me, there's always the 10%. He used to call it the 10% rule. The job that we have as human beings is how do we manage that 10%, right? How do we deal with that 10%, the minority? It's not that they should be ostracized or treated differently. It's that we need to let them know that they are, in fact, we need to, in fact, incorporate them into the outcome that we want. Incorporate the wholeness of who we are, right? We need to stop thinking like separate groups of people and say, how do we collectively, wholly want to be, right? And the second thing I want to say really quick before we get to the outcome card, when we use the term flooded, when we use that term emotionally flooded, what that really means is that you're in such a heightened emotional state that logically you do not have the capability of acting rationally or intelligently. You're reacting strictly out of the emotions that are flooding you at that exact moment in time. A lot of times when people get under stress, when they start having fight or flight, when they get angry, all these heavy, intense emotions create that flooded feeling.
So how do we get out of that flooded feeling? The emotionally flooded, overwhelmed feeling? Well, the question that we can ask is, how are you feeling? Let's just get into basics. How are you feeling? Okay, so I would ask Will when I see him, or he even tells me, okay, I'm triggered, I'm emotionally flooded right now. Okay, how does that feel right now? How does that feel to be emotionally flooded?
Right.
Maybe he's like, it feels scary. It feels uncomfortable. If we just start getting into the heart space instead of in the head, that's where we get in trouble, is when we get into the head. When we start intellectualizing, well, yeah. Well, it's this and that, and I'm this and that, and that. We start spinning, right? And then it gets worse. The emotional flooding gets worse. So we need to just stop, take a breath, and ask the question. If nobody's around, then ask yourself the question, how does that feel? How am I feeling right now? Drop into your heart space.
This is why you see the comment on Kung Fu Panda, where the little rat master, he says, internal peace. That's why that statement is so important, because the lesson he's really teaching people subconsciously is that when you find peace within yourself, as you're going through this process of potentially being emotionally flooded with fear or anxiety or stress, what you're doing is that regardless of the outcome, you as a spiritual being are good. And that's what we have to remind ourselves of a lot of times. We are good regardless of the outcome. Stop worrying about, well, oh my God, all this stuff's going to happen. Hold on. You are good regardless.
Yep.
And it's hard. It really is. Trust me. I know. God knows I have my moments when I get flooded. When we had one today where Jodi and I had to sit down, we had to talk through certain things. It's like, look, I'm not trying to attack you. I'm just telling you how I feel. And the minute we switched into that, we're talking about our feelings phase, our heart space.
Emotionally vulnerable.
Yep.
That's where you want to get.
The minute you step into that space, it presents energy in a very different way than if you were trying to do it from a intellect space, which is I'm attacking you, I'm accusing you, all this other crap, right? Which is not true. The ego gets involved, right? The I's. And by the way, that's an easy way to tell when your ego is involved. When you start using I a lot in your statements, that's your ego. Just saying.
So a couple things. To get out of emotional flooding, I have 3 things actually. Ask yourself, how does it feel right now? How do I feel right now? So you can drop into your heart space, into your emotions, okay? Secondly, start naming things so you can get out of your head. Okay, so when you look around you, what do you see? Like, I see a green plant. I see a red chair. I'm wearing a blue dress. Okay, so you just start getting out. You shift your focus, right? Out of like your head. Third is, if you can go outside to shift the energy, go outside.
Yep.
Okay, so those are 3 very quick things that you can do to get out of emotional flooding.
Something else I'd recommend too is if you don't physically take a walk, if you don't get physically active of some kind, we're both guilty of this. We're both intellectual people. We need to be more physically active than we are, but
we do love taking walks. However,
do.
Sometimes we get so busy, we're like, oh shoot, we're tied to our laptop again.
But the idea is that we as individuals, we both recognize the fact that we are much happier when we're in a physically active state where we can just burn off some of that energy.
Yeah, burn that inertia off. Use your body.
When you're flooded, what's happening is there's a certain amount of emotional inertia that's built up, and essentially you're popping the cork, right? And we have to figure out how to drain that so that it doesn't sit there and, as we talked about earlier, manifesting itself in weird ways, right? Final outcome card for those people who may be watching. This card right here, I don't know if the camera can detect it. Here we go, the 9 of Wands. Yep. Notice the person has a little white headband right here, right? This card talks of this idea that humanity eventually will be led or lead itself out of this shadow space.
Out of the wounding, that headband or that bandage even.
Yeah.
Leading itself out of the wounding.
And, okay, Jazzy, thank you.
Jazzy, thanks for joining us.
So, again, humanity will eventually lead itself or be led out of that wounding phase. I think that as we listen to Spirit, our divine creator, our guides, and yes, ET folks upstairs and program folks upstairs, we start tapping into stuff that gives us the guidance and the input we need in order to move out of one space into this new space that we're creating ahead of us. And again, what we're asking is that we all collectively choose one that's more positive, right?
Yep.
So
Yep. Something else real quick. I know that intellectually, so many of us want to hear these sexy topics on like ETs and UFOs and like secret projects that, the government has, and like channeling this group and channeling that group, and all of it's great, right? It's all fantastic. It's all so intriguing. It's so interesting, right?
and some of us have done tons of talks on them.
Right? However, what is so important is to anchor the present right now. The
Yeah.
existence that we're in right now is of utmost importance. Now, we do realize that all of those experiences that we've had on other realms, even in parallel universes, parallel experiences that are happening now, great. It affects everything, like a ripple in a pond, those quantum echoes. But focusing on right now, rather than extrapolating so much that we're out there rather than right here in the present, is really important, because sometimes there's escapism. And when there's escapism, We are not concentrating on our healing and the present. So just make note of that. Make sure you're not doing that, okay?
We're perfectly okay with the idea of talking about, the aforementioned secret space programs and aliens and saucers and whatnot.
As long as we're also concentrating on the present and your healing right now.
What we're also talking about, though, too, and Jodi and I have made this, I think, abundantly clear when we talk about this stuff, is that we're both trying to figure out how do we manifest and create further healing within this community. And we have multiple communities we serve, but the disclosure community seems to be the most marginalized, although we do have groups of people around that periphery that are also being marginalized. The government has just finally acknowledged the fact that they targeted people, right? They've just acknowledged the fact and released video footage of these neural weapons being developed and used, right? The CIA is like, go use them. They're trying to pass a bill right now in the House to ban that stuff. So if you guys are wondering, does this stuff happen? Is this a tinfoil hat conspiracy theory? The answer is no. They've been doing this forever. I mean, look at the DIA study they just released from HARP, right? That particular study I found very interesting for one simple fact. They said if they change 1/150th of the energy in high altitude around the Earth, they noticed a change in that area beneath that high altitude of the people living there.
Everything affects everything. Everything's connected. Interesting, too, as Will's touching upon some of these subjects, we know that so much disclosure is unfolding at a rapid speed and will continue to unfold even faster. The thing that we found just last night, I mean, we were updating Will's resume and I was asking him a few things about the military that were transferable to the civilian world that we could put on his resume. And as I was asking him about some of his experiences, we found a document on some of his service that he thought never in a million years is this going to be released to the public. It was unclassified. It was released. And so he's like, whoa, now that is disclosure, unfolding right now that we didn't think would be.
It was so highly classified that we were basically told it would never see the light of day. And I just happen to remember the actual operation name, and I ran it through Google, of course, and all of a sudden here's documents that start showing up, and I'm like, wait.
With pictures.
Yeah, wait, with what?
He's like, oh my gosh, that was the guy in charge of our operation, and there he is. Oh my God. I was like, what? How is this making you feel right now? This must be so creepy and crazy and wild.
So
how did that make you feel, babe, for them who might be wondering?
So it's confirmation of what I remember, but it's also weird. It's kind of weird and unsettling and disturbing from another angle, because again, we were told that this would never see the light of day, and now it is.
And not only that, you mentioned that what you were told and what's out in the public is kind of different.
Well, right. And the fact is, I mean, we know the government and people within the military, they whitewash stuff all the time. We know this, or redact stuff like crazy. That's what I think the main story they were telling was correct. I just think some of the numbers and some of the facts were redacted for political purposes. And the secondary note in this is that part of me felt good by the fact that I know I had served and I knew I'd helped in that area. That made me feel good. But when I looked at the pictures of the people who lived there and the people who were affected by some of the things that went on, I felt really bad, because I'm like this brought up a whole flood of memories for me in terms of what I remember being in theater at the time, dealing with some of that stuff, and just being like, they had some of the pictures like little kids and stuff, I'm just like, oh my God, these poor little kids. And it brought back all of those memories. Like when I was in the military at this time, I would have been 19, 20. And here I am looking at these same pictures thinking these kids were only, in some cases, 8, 9 years younger than me. They were really young.
I mean, for those of you who don't or haven't listened to Will's interviews, you may not know or remember, but I mean, he wasn't even out of high school. He went to boot camp and then he came back, graduated, and then was deployed.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was so young when he served.
In the here and now, not in the programs.
Right.
That's a whole other bailiwick. But the idea is that in the here and now, when I served in the Marine Corps, seeing some of the pictures of some of the guys that were there, like some of the commanding officers, some of the liaison officers, I'm like, oh my God, I know all these guys. I knew all those dudes. So it's kind of weird. It was like, wow, brought up a whole flood of really, really weird memories and some stuff that I didn't even really even remember really well,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So most are so young. You're so right. Yep.
And a lot of it too is from the fact that I think that things happen so fast over there that you didn't really like have time to latch on to certain memories. You just had to be doing. And I think that's part of what the military machine does is it keeps you doing things so you don't have time to kind of latch on to what's going on. And it was nice to see a document that basically said, yes, Will, you're not crazy, and yes, this is what you remember, and yes, you're accurate, and oh yeah, by the way, they lied.
Yeah. They recognized all of that. Something else, and this brings up the whole new moon, that started yesterday.
Yeah.
Things are going to surface that were percolating, maybe even in your subconscious, that need to be purged or need to be addressed or looked at.
Yeah.
So this is something in real time that happened. This incident, these experiences from Will's past came up, and he was like, wow, the government disclosed this. He actually had confirmation, and he was able to look at it. And now some healing can go on in that aspect, and he can move on to that next chapter, whatever, next level. And that's what's going to be happening for all of you. That's what's been happening for us.
Yeah.
So this new moon is important. This new moon in Scorpio, it's like a death and rebirth. It's transformation. It's like rising from the ashes, the phoenix rising from the ashes. So it's a really important one.
I would even ask the question for you guys. Ask yourselves a question. What is it that I no longer need? Because what happens a lot of times with these memories when they come up, the reason why the subconscious is bringing it to your memory, cognitive memory, is that it's basically saying, I'm ready to process this now. Can we go ahead and release this? Because I no longer need to protect this part of who I am. And for me, that's what I saw in that situation. I had some bad feelings about what happened over there, but I also had some good feelings. I said, thank you, subconscious, for bringing this to my attention. I'm releasing this back and to the universe, and I'm releasing these emotions with it, and I'm hoping to gain some healing from it.
Yeah. And it may be in just things that you're doing naturally, like we were updating his resume, and it just happened to come about in a natural way. Yeah. So those are the things that the universe is saying, hey, tap, tap, tap on your shoulder.
Yeah.
What about this? And I'm going to put this in front of you because I want you to look at it. I want you to heal it. I want you to decide, are you ready to purge it? Are you ready to look at it, heal from it? Are you ready to move on from it? Are you ready to graduate from this lesson? And it's powerful. It's really powerful if you take the time to be still, to sit with it. And things may show up in your dreams also.
Yeah.
Again, as far as new chapters with this new moon, as far as new intentions, write things down. It's really powerful. It really seeks into your being, your DNA, all of that. There's something about writing things down.
I would say this too. I feel like collectively we're getting ready to graduate from kindergarten to first grade. And I think emotionally we're in that space and spiritually we're in that space. I think the other thing you have to think about too is that if we don't get this right this time, we're going to come back and repeat it again. The stuff we're hearing from Dolores Cannon and her daughter, all of the sessions that they have repeat this very simple fact that we are essentially continuously reincarnating, and we're waiting on the same people who we reincarnated with last time if we didn't get the lesson this time. So it's really, really, really important for us to kind of get these lessons buttoned down really well.
Yep.
And the last thing I'll say, and then I guess I'm done. The one of the ideas that we as spiritual beings have is that we have a choice because we are, in fact, again, fragments of the divine creator. I think by executing our free will, our free agency, our self-determination, I think that we have the option and the ability to create the outcome we want. And I would think I would ask each person to ask the question, well, what does that positive outcome look like? generically speaking, without painting a picture on it, meaning an idea would be everyone has the resources they need. Everyone has the food, the medical aid they need. Everyone has the the power, the heat, the cooling that they need. Right, exactly.
So as practitioners, how can we help people to remember? That was the question.
Yeah,
And that's a great question.
Right. That's exactly what we should be doing is when we're helping people, we remind them gently, carefully, right?
Yeah.
You know, and Jodi and I, we do this when we're talking with our clients. A lot of times we'll say, you know, look, just so you're aware, you know, you are a powerful being. What is it that you want to create?
Remember who they are.
Positively speaking.
Yeah. And I think one of the first things, of course, I know you guys do this too, is you gauge where people are in their journey.
Oh, yeah.
You know, are they ready to engage in that conversation? Do they talk about
Or not.
source? Do they talk about, you know, spirit? Do they talk about things that are happening around them? I think usually what I've seen when people are ready for up-leveling in their journey is first they'll talk about the external, right? They'll talk about like, oh my gosh, government this, government that, this is going on, because it's like shaking up their world. They want something to change.
Right.
And then they start kind of looking at the internal, like, well, how can I change? What can I do to secure my family from all this chaos? And then they start saying, okay, there has to be something more.
Or they say I'm
Or
secure.
better.
Or they say I'm secure. Now what do I do to get myself in alignment with Divine Creator?
Or you have something like either life-threatening, you know, maybe a near death, maybe a life-threatening illness. Something changes their trajectory in life to really wake them up, shake them up, and that's when the divine can start working with you and start shaping everything. You know, we think like, oh, you know, maybe this is what we want to do. This is fine. My path is fine. But then the divine creator says, I want to shape you in this way. Think in a way that you have never thought of or never envisioned, because my vision for you is far greater than you've ever thought of.
And I would say this too, by the way. I've had an NDE in 2012. But the first time that I had one of these course corrections, as Jodi was chatting about, was in 95, 96. This woman, Connie, that I talk about. Do not underestimate the power of a single interaction.
Yeah, good point.
Never underestimate the power of that single interaction with someone. I've seen it happen when I've worked as a practitioner. I've had people walk up to me and talk to me, and I not realizing that, you know, Spirit's using me to help this person. I've had people, even within the disclosure community, which I thought I really wasn't in a practitioner mode, which I'm now learning that I'm always a practitioner. I gave some folks some advice at the N5D event where Jodi and I met, and one of those individuals messaged us on Facebook the other day and said, hey, you gave me this piece of advice, and oh my God, you're right. You're so right. And we don't realize sometimes how that little piece of advice, that little interaction, that little high vibe shift, right, causes such a major, major up level for some people. So we can't underestimate our abilities. If you're wondering, well, what can I do? I don't have all the education you have, or I don't have all the job stuff you have, or whatever. It has nothing to do with that. And Dr. Salas just said it correctly when she posted her comment up there. She said, reaching people right where they are.
Love that. Absolutely.
That is exactly what we're talking about.
Yep. That's so important.
Only you have the power
Yep.
to change those people's lives.
Yeah. And also from what Will was saying, you know, every interaction, you never know the impact that it can have. Now, from the other end of the spectrum, I'll share an experience that I had. I went to a high school reunion and I decided, okay, I'll go. One of my friends from high school talked me into it. This girl comes up to me and she said, you were so mean to me.
No.
And I was like, what? I was like mortified because I was the one from like elementary until 6th grade that was totally bullied, right? I was like this nerd that was just like totally into books and my studies and all of that. And I it was difficult, very, very difficult.
What you guys think of her now?
And she goes, yeah, you were one of those popular girls and you were so mean to me. And I'm like, I could not believe it. I was just like, I am so sorry. I do not remember whatever incident you're talking about, but I do want to let you know right now, I am so sorry. And you are beautiful. And I am so glad that we're having this conversation right now, because I just want you to know that, like, I'm so glad we're talking right now. And tell me about your life. Tell me what you're doing. And like, she just lit up and she was like, okay. She's like, yeah. She's like, I totally want to talk to you about everything. And she literally, because it was like a dance and people were, eating hors d'oeuvres and then they go on the dance floor. And she literally was dancing with me and who I was with like that whole night. It was like history was reversed for her. So that wound was healed, and something that like we might never know that we did, right? By either accident or whatever. So I was so grateful that the universe allowed that particular experience to happen so that I could reverse in her mind, whatever I did, right that wrong, because I had been bullied for years. And so, gosh, if somebody had been able to give me that experience to be like, oh, hey, Jodi, I'm so sorry that I did that or that happened. Wow, that would be amazing. So I'm glad that the universe gave me that opportunity to do that for her. And wow, that was amazing. So yes, interactions are so important, whether now or in the future. You have such an impact to change people's lives, from what you say to your example. Even if you're silent and you say nothing, what you do and how you conduct yourself, even out of love, is so important.
Yes. So again, thank you guys for being here with us tonight. Thank you for listening. Thank you for listening and sometimes kind of drone on a little bit.
We have so many fun things to share with you. We're like, and we just appreciate your support. We appreciate your love.
We do.
We are honored for those of you who trust us to help facilitate your healing path. Services with Jodi and Will. Go to our site. Go to our Square site. So
jodiandwill.square.site.
Yep.
You can go to Services with Jodi and Will on Facebook. Mm-hmm. You can go to Services with Jodi and Will -- discussion group.
Yep.
And you can also go to @ServicesJAW on
at
Instagram.
@ServicesJaw on Instagram. So book a session with us. We have a variety of services that you can book.
Make sure you click on, when you look at the website, make sure you click on the here, right where it says here. It'll enable you to get through the login process.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not a hyperlink. It just says here. So you literally have to click on the word here.
Yes.
So one other thing, I just want to invite you to subscribe to Jodi's Gems.
Yeah, guided helping you heal helping you navigate your divine journey.
Yes.
On Jodi's Gems.
Helping you navigate your divine journey. So that's what my guests, including my husband, that's what we do for everybody out there. We hope we do. I know my guests do that for me. So they help in my healing journey. And, the experiences that they share are so helpful. So I appreciate that. Subscribe, comment, let us know what you think about these episodes. Let us know what you think about these lives. Let us know what you want to hear about.
Yeah.
So, and if you've had a chance to look at some of the episodes on Guided, let me know what guests, you enjoyed or what you learned. Maybe a little tidbit that really kind of sparked some inspiration for you.
We have some new videos coming out soon, so pay attention for that. We're going to be releasing the practitioner list here, hopefully. We're supposed to have it done last month, but things kind of compiled and
got
real busy.
Yep.
So as we've been trying to complete our QHHT training, and we're trying to make this, we're trying to figure out where we're going to be. So
transition-wise, living-wise, all of this.
Yeah,
Yep.
So you will see that video
Thank you, Dr. Salas.
You will see that video come out. And the last thing that I would say is, again, thank you for trusting us with helping you work through your spiritual journey. We do feel blessed that people do that, and we enjoy doing it. We actually enjoy helping people. So thank you. And you guys have a great night, and hopefully you will join us again. So.
All right. Have a great night wherever you are in the world.